Storyteller tonight is Amanda Lambros, and Amanda has told a story before at Stories from the Heart, and I'm delighted to have her back. And another exciting project that's on the horizon is Stories from the Heart, Tales of Inspiration. The book is coming out, and that will be launching in March at the next Stories from the Heart. And the book is made up of 16 authors, people who have stepped up and shared a story at a Stories from the Heart event, who are going to be having their story in the book. So that's pretty exciting. Somebody's knocking at the door. Come in. Can't see who you are, but come in. So Amanda is also one of the authors in the book. And as Amanda makes her way up onto the stage, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Amanda is a fun-loving, curly-haired Canadian who has lived in Perth for quite some time, but she still struggles to fathom why Perth motorists can't merge on the freeway. That's right. So with her story called 2 More Minutes, please welcome Amanda Lambros.
Your hugs are the best hugs I've ever had. When you put your arms around me, all I can do is smell you, and it's amazing. I love you so much, and I want you to know that. You know that drawing you made me? I framed it because it was just mind-blowing. It's probably one of my most treasured items I actually have in my house, and I love it. So thank you, because every time I look at it, or even when I think about it, I think of you. I'm sorry I was so stubborn. I should have called you sooner. I really, really would love for you to meet my boys. Your nephews are pretty cool guys. Those sentences all hold a lot of weight for me, and the reason they do is because those are all things I would have said if I had 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes with my grandpa, my grandma, or my brother. So I'm here to ask you, what if? What if you had 2 more minutes to tell somebody what you actually wanted to tell them while they were still here? What would you do differently? I'm the executive director of the Grief Recovery Institute of Australia and New Zealand. And every day, people call me, come through my doors, or email me with that heavy thought in their head. And chances are, that loss didn't happen yesterday. It happened 5, 10, 20 years ago. But they're still left with their thoughts. Those what if. What if I coulda, shoulda, woulda done something different, better, or more? Don't get me wrong, grief and loss sucks. It's debilitating, it's isolating, and it's something that every single one of us will experience throughout our life over and over again. So loss isn't just death. Loss is a transition from something that we actually normally know, so a normal transition. But what happens is it's the thought of reaching out for someone who's always been there, only to reach out for them one more time, and they're no longer there. That's what loss really is. Now, thinking about loss, when you think about the what if I had 2 more minutes? What is it that you would say? For me recently, 7 a.m. in the morning, bang, 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 is what I heard on our door, actually our window. And it was 2 police officers who came to our house to let us know that my husband's mom had been found deceased. We had just talked to her, and we were planning a trip to go up north to see her. Now our trip up north was no longer to go see her, but to pack up the house and arrange affairs up there. I have to say, I feel completely blessed. A year ago, she was RFDS flown down here, had emergency open chest surgery, spent a few weeks in ICU, and then spent 4 months living with us. During those 4 months, I actually had the opportunity to hear a lot of her stories. She is a woman who had the gift of the gab, let me tell you. So the best part was when my husband was away at work and my kids were away at school, she would sit there and get really honest with me. She would well up and tear up and say how proud she was of how her son turned out. Never a conversation she'd have with him. She then told me how excited she was that he found me, which I thought was amazing. So when she passed away and we went up north and we saw her little old bitty friends, they all said, "Do you know how lucky you are? She loved you." I went, "I know. She told me all the time." But when it came to my husband, she hadn't quite told him. So he was left with a lot more loss and that pain of what if? What if Mom had actually told me those things while she was here to tell me that? So that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think not what if I'm about to lose somebody and and what I would say to them. I want you to think is what is my next conversation going to be? Imagine what if we are open, honest, and genuine with everyone that we actually came in contact with? What if, rather than leaving all those thoughts in your head, you actually told the person in front of you what you thought? It's amazing. Those are the things that I thoroughly enjoy doing now. Now, granted, I'm crazy biased. I was just like every single one of you years ago before I knew about grief recovery. I didn't tell people those things. That's why those sentences are so heavy to me. But now, years later, I've managed to learn that. It's a skill that you take forward with you. But to actually tell people while you're still having the relationship with those people how you feel is brilliant. So when they do leave, for whatever reason, they don't need to die. And I guess that's one of the things that a lot of people go, oh, well, it must be death. No, people leave and transition our lives for a lot of different reasons. So it could be tangibles and intangibles. And when you no longer have the ability to have a relationship with that person, that's when you need to know that you've communicated everything you have to that person. So time doesn't heal wounds. That I'm sure you've heard. Although some people say, don't worry, time heals. It doesn't. Action does. So rather than sitting with what if, I want you to think, what is my next conversation going to be? Thank you.